Hello guys and welcome back to the Hit or Miss podcast. This is episode 7. Today I am with Jack, aka the Doctor Who guy. Hello Jack.
Hello, good to be here.
Now this podcast is a little bit different because we only have 2 people here, and I'm solo hosting today without Mike, who's usually here with me, but he's taking a break this weekend, which is fair enough. And next episode, it'll be Mike solo hosting, and I will be doing The Chase. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll be in that?
I will. That's the YouTuber special,
that's
yeah.
the YouTuber special. You excited for that?
Oh God, I'm more nervous because I like to think myself pretty knowledgeable in Doctor Who, but seeing who I'm going up against.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. We've got Dom J. Martin as the chaser. I know,
God.
I've seen his videos. He's very knowledgeable, but I think you've got a good chance.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. It's mostly for Jerry.
Yeah. Anywho, we have a very limited time today. This will come out to about an hour and a half, as opposed to the usual 2 hours, because I have to dash at 2 o'clock. So without further ado, we'll just go into the first section. Have you watched the podcast before? Do you know how this works, or do you just want me to run through it quickly?
Let's go through it real quick.
Okay, so we first got the On This Day section, where I say what's going to be happening on the day this podcast goes up. So today is November the 29th, which is about 2 or 3 weeks from now. But this will go up on the 29th, so I'll say what happened on the 29th. And then you just tell me, if it's an episode, you tell me if you like it, if you don't like it. And if it's an actor or actress, you tell me if you recognize them.
Okie dokie.
And then I'll just run through all of it. Then there's the hit or miss section, where I've got a list of 10 controversial episodes, controversial topics within the fandom. So like a certain character, a certain episode, and you say hit, favourable, as in you like it, or unfavourable, miss, you don't like it. Okay?
Gotcha.
And then third and final section today will be the episode review, where we'll be going into another 2-parter, which we won't reveal until we get there. But yeah.
Hey.
So this is on this day section, again, November 29th. The Android Invasion Part 2 premiered in 1975.
Ooh, interesting. Which remind me, which story is that?
The Android Invasion, I'll have a quick Google. It's Tom Baker's story, and it's got Sarah and Harry Sullivan.
Oh, that's a good team. I like that TARDIS team.
I do love a bit of Tom Baker. Second favourite classic Who Doctor, should I say.
Oh, really? Who's the first, dare I ask?
Patrick Troughton.
Oh, he is good.
Yes.
I do love him.
Who's yours?
Oh, God. It changes all the time because it depends what I watch, because I'm still delving into classic Who.
Right.
Oh God, right now I think it's Pertwee, because I love all the unit stuff.
Oh yeah, he was great, especially when he was exiled on Earth. I love that story.
Yes, it was a very good idea.
Yeah, a bit of fun. Next up, The Trial of a Time Lord, The Ultimate Foe Part 13 premiered in 1986.
Trial of a Time Lord. I've watched it, but I'll be honest, I struggled to get into it, for me personally. I like Colin in the role, especially as he went on, but it was a great idea, but you can tell the show was sort of clinging on to dear life at that point.
Absolutely. I think he was doing that for the last 3 years previous to that, actually. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I do. Well, the ratings weren't that good in the 80s, were they? 82
no,
onwards.
not particularly.
State of Decay Part 2 premiered in 1980.
Ooh, State of Decay. I'll have to give that one a quick Google as well. Oh God, this is giving me so much excitement for the Chasers. Woo! I'll Google the answer. That'll do it.
We're on to Modern Who eventually, so don't worry. This has got the Fourth Doctor, Romana, Adric, the Vampire Lords Roar.
Oh, this story, yeah, okay, I know the story.
Do you like it?
It's okay. I find it fairly forgettable. Although I will say, Tom in that season 18 get up, it's growing on me. It was never my favourite, but it's growing on me. It's nice.
Yeah, especially the latter series of Tom Baker's era. The last series in particular is a bit But you're right, it's grown on me too. Next up, Survival Part 2 premiered in 1989. Of course, the final story of the classic series.
I love me some McCoy and Ace. Oh,
Yes.
McCoy is up there as one of my favourites, I'll admit.
Yeah.
Especially, he is actually the only classic Doctor I've seen all of his era. Because I've got every single one. And, love him to bits.
And it's a shame that the show got cancelled shortly after. I'd love to see him do more.
Oh, no, I completely agree.
Yeah. Next up, 30 Years in the TARDIS premiered in 1993. It was a documentary going from the start of the show to that point. Have you seen that?
Oh, wow. No, I haven't. That sounds really interesting. I'll have to give that a Google after the podcast. Give it a watch.
Awesome. Now on to the birthdays and the deaths. The birthdays are Gemma Chan, who played Mia in The Waters of Mars. She'll be 38.
Ooh,
good actress. Max Bonger, who was also in The Waters of Mars. I think he was just one of the characters who was on the TV. Like one of the flashbacks. He'll
happy
be
birthday.
46. Yep, happy birthday. Another notable one here. Naoko Mori will be 49. She played Toshiko in Torchwood.
Oh, I know. Happy birthday, Tosh.
Happy birthday, Tosh. Next up, Michael Craze would have been 78. He portrayed Ben Jackson. He died in 1998. Rest in peace.
Good old Ben. I've seen a bit of Ben. He was good.
He's one of my favourite companions. Of course, Troughton. Jack Blig would have been 131. He was in The War Machines, and he's notable as being the earliest born actor to have filmed footage for Doctor Who.
Oh, interesting.
So he must be the oldest, 131. Long time ago.
Yeah, wow, that's very, very old.
Yeah, and the final two, these people died on this day. Joseph first died on this day in 2005, aged 89. He was in The Underwater Menace.
Oh, that's a good one.
And George Harrison from The Beatles died on this day in 2001. He was credited as himself in The Chase.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
It's been a while since I watched that, but I think The Chase also has Abraham Lincoln. I think it's a load of flashback scenes. And George Harrison is in that one as well.
Yeah, The Chase is on my list. I've got to watch that because I know it's like the last of Troughton's Run. It's very popular. It's very famous. Yeah. I need to watch it.
Yeah, I'd give it probably a 8 or 9 out of 10. Ooh. It's very good. Yeah.
See, it's always so highly rated. I've got to track that one down.
Yeah. Well, those were the birthdays and the deaths. So happy birthday or rest in peace to those people. It's very noble, this section, because on previous days it's been very unknown actors. People don't recognize the names, but today there's about 4 or 5 names that people will recognize.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty impressive.
Section. Yep. Next up is the hit or miss section. We'll fly through this today.
Oh, here we go.
First up, Ryan Sinclair.
Okay, I'm probably gonna get a bit of hate for this. So, I'm giving him a big old miss, and I like the idea of the character. There's a lot of good things behind him, but it's just the actor that every line he delivers, it's always sort of like this. He's always about to ask a question. Graham, I just big old miss for me personally.
We've got a group chat and they continually mock Ryan Sinclair and Tosin Cole's acting, and the only notable line is, "We got the chips though."
Oh god, I'm glad I'm not on my own there then.
Yeah, I do think he's a very unpopular companion, unfortunately, which is a shame because in The Timeless Children, there's a scene where the Doctor is going to blow herself up, and then there's a lot of emotion, and then when one of the characters from that episode pipes up saying, "You can't do that," he just says, "Come on," and then it's restricting. And it was where's the emotion? Your friend is about to blow herself up, and then you just saying, "Come on," to another person.
It kills me. It absolutely kills me.
Yeah. But he's just
god, don't you, the bit as well that sticks out, I think Timeless Children as well, the bit where he goes through his quote-unquote arc and he shoots the fucking basketball at the Cybermen or something, and he's like, "Yeah, come on!" I wanted to fucking scream.
Yeah. it was such a flat story arc, but I get why they did the dyspraxia kind of thing.
Oh yeah, no, I completely get it.
Yeah, but the actual acting, the actual delivery, it's meant to be like character development, and I was like, if this is character development, then what the hell isn't? Because the Matt Smith era had great character development, in my opinion. You had people like Rory go from just a complete mess to the hero in series 6,
love me some
especially.
Rory.
Yeah, and then the story arc for Ryan was shooting a basketball, and I thought, great.
Oh, Christ.
Next up is Inferno, which isn't that controversial because I think it's a very popular story.
Oh yeah, I've watched that. I saw that quite recently. It's a very interesting story. It's very sort of one of a kind, isn't it? Like, you know, with the parallel versions of all the characters. Personal favourite being Brigade Leader with the bloody eye patch. That was brilliant. Pertwee, love him. Liz Shaw, very underrated companion.
100%.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fab story, that is.
Yeah, I'd rate it 8 out of 10. It's in very good territory.
Yeah,
for sure.
I find it hard to rate stories, but it's definitely high.
Well, we better hope you can rate the episode review today because that'll be going on to the leaderboard. So we'll need a rating for that.
Oh bollocks! Okay, I better start thinking.
Do you not have a rating written down for it?
Nope, I've got a lot of notes. I'm sure as we'll talk about it, I'm sure I can come to an out of 10 rating.
Okay. Next up is the Macro Terror animation. I have not seen it, unfortunately. Have you?
Nope. I've seen clips and I've seen the odd review. I love the idea of the animated episodes. I just wish they were given more time because, they had Fury from the Deep come out recently, and obviously that's such a well-known in the Doctor Who-verse episode, but the animation is just holding it back so much, and that's the same for every. Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. It's like that new Daleks serial that came out on YouTube the other day.
The animation is dreadful,
yeah. The animation's it's just very odd, but the story and the writing and the acting is superb. Yeah. It's just give it a bit more time, cook it in the oven, you know.
Yeah.
Very odd.
Yeah. We'd have reviewed that by now on the podcast, so I won't give my thoughts on that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's a very disappointing animation. There's explosions as well. I was like, you can probably make that on paint.
Yeah, it's a very odd thing. And with the animated recreations of episodes, like I've heard people say this a million times, but it does bear repeating. But they're going to be lost forever, realistically. If they haven't been found yet, you're not going to find them in a ditch somewhere. So just what's the rush for getting them like 1 or 2 a year? Just give them as long as they need to make them look great, and it'll be really profitable in the long run.
Imagine if one of these animations just come out and then the actual episode's found and then it looks nothing like it.
Oh god, that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question for you.
Oh, here.
Yeah, which of the animated ones, like Power or Fury, would you like to see the most if it was ever refound?
Power. We talked about this. 100% Power.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You?
Yeah.
How about you?
I'd probably say Power, but considering how much I've heard about Fury from the Deep, I'd be leaning towards that because it's very, very one of a kind. Fury from the Deep.
Yeah. And I did hear some rumours that there were more stories to be revealed soon, missing episodes. Apparently there's a private collector. And I don't know if how active you are on the Twitter community, but there's been a lot of hype around that recently.
Oh, excellent. Oh, I'm very excited about that then. I'll have to look into it.
But I don't think in my lifetime about 10 stories may be revealed, like 10 episodes here and there, but I don't think... I think half of them are lost forever. I think
most likely.
97 left, 97 missing episodes or stories.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Yeah, the likelihood of finding any of these slim, but you know, it's always good to keep hope, I suppose.
Absolutely. Next one, the 11th Doctor.
Oh, I love him.
Yes.
Oh, I love the 11th Doctor. I think people always have the complaint, well, if I see a complaint about Smith, it's always that he was always like Tennant light in the way that he had it, but I completely disagree. He brought such a different vibe and energy to the role. it's very true what they say that he's kind of an old man in a young man's body.
Absolutely.
In the way that he does it, and it's all the mannerisms and the way that he talks. There's nothing quite like how Matt Smith performed it, and just as a whole, Matt Smith crushed it. Like one thing you can say about almost all of the actors that play the Doctor is it doesn't matter the quality of the story on the whole. You can always guarantee a good performance from the lead. Absolutely. And Matt Smith is absolutely one of those Doctors.
Yeah, he was nothing like David Tennant, in my opinion. He left his mark on the show, that's for sure. What would your favourite story be from his era?
Oh god, there's loads. I love Amy's Choice. The Dream Lord will always be one of my one-off villains' favourites. Yeah. His opener, 11th Hour, is probably my favourite regeneration story. Dare I say it?
Yeah.
Or rather, first Doctor story. Oh gosh, it's all blanking. Wasn't a big fan of Day of the Doctor personally, but we won't get into that.
Okay.
Right. Oh god, there's a lot whirring in my head. I just can't get. I think all of Series 5, bar The Lodger, is a damn good series.
Obviously, the same with Series 6. I do think Series 6 is very underrated, a very complex story, and I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a very interesting series. I need to actually rewatch because there's a few that my opinions change. Like, for example, the Ganger two-parter. Right. It's a very odd couple of stories that I need to rewatch some of these days because I really love the concept, but I remember the acting and some of it just being odd.
Every time the story is brought up, I get so angry because everyone says, "Oh no, I don't like this story," and then I think it's a bloody good story, and I think it's a very good story. I definitely remember loving the concept. Yeah.
I think that some of the effects were holding it back. Like I remember specifically, I'm sure this is brought up before, where like the mouth opens up.
Oh yeah.
That image is cursed, and it's stuck in my head for years. But no, I'll need to rewatch that one especially.
Yeah, you're absolutely. Yeah. I love that story, but then I have about two.
Well, maybe if I come on again, we'll have to do that two-parter.
Yeah, Mike, you're hearing this, yeah? We have to review it. He'll listen back to this and he'll think, yeah, okay. Next one, Series 12, Jodie's latest series.
Oh, you're giving me some crackers. All right. So I'd say, obviously, I think better than 11, no doubt in my mind about that. I was very sour on Series 11, still am. But Series 12 is okay. It's not my favourite, but it tried some bold things which I admire. I think I would have preferred, Captain Jack to stick around. I would have preferred sort of maybe a few less surprises because it all kind of got a bit shit by the end. Like you had with Jack's very brief return and everyone was like, oh, I bet he's going to come back. Never did. The Ruth Doctor didn't go anywhere. The Timeless Children, very divisive. I still don't fully know how to intake that finale.
Right.
Ascension of the Cybermen, a bit rubbish. I loved was Nikola Tesla Series 11 or 12?
Series 12, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I loved Nikola Tesla. I loved that episode to bits. I loved Spyfall, the opener. That was a cracking one. Lenny Henry was beautiful, and I love him. More Stephen Fry, though. Why'd you kill him? How dare you? I think on the whole it was good. I'm still not a big fan of the TARDIS team as a whole.
Right.
But I think when it comes down to it, Jodie was always going to be the main talking point. And on the whole, I like her a lot better now. Series 11, she wasn't given a lot to do, but here she is given a lot more. She's still not one of my favourites, but that's because I'm a big fanboy for what I've already seen. But she's no longer... I wouldn't say she's at the very bottom. I'm not sure. I need to re-evaluate who that is.
Fair enough. My bottom three Doctors personally would be Colin Baker, Whittaker, even though she is growing on me, and I think I said Peter Davidson.
It's funny, Davidson's at the bottom for me. I love the actor. I love him. I've met him actually. I've had the privilege. But I don't know. It's something about his era that just rubbed me the wrong way. It's not him. It's never been him. But it's just the stories I've seen. It's just not my favourite section of Who. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's rewind a bit because we're forgetting the concept of the section, the hit or miss. So
Oh, sorry, yeah.
it's my fault, I forgot. So we'll just go through all of the ones we've done again and say hit, favourable, miss, unfavourable. Ryan Sinclair.
Oh, big miss.
Miss for me as well. Inferno.
Hit.
Same. The Macro Terror animation. Oh, we haven't seen it.
I'm gonna call it a miss.
Okay, I haven't seen it, so I won't say that anything. The 11th Doctor.
Oh, big hit, big hit.
Yeah, he's my favourite Doctor, may I add.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Series 12.
Oh. I'm gonna call it a hit just because of Series 11. Because Series 11 is such a miss that I'm happy that anything improved.
Fair enough. And this is going to be different to yours, but I think Series 11 is a tad better than Series 12.
Ooh, divisive. Interesting.
I think Series 12 has the better peaks, as in they've got the best stories in Series 12 are better than the best Series 11 has to offer. But I think Series 12 has a couple fillers, a couple 3 or 4s out of 10, and like poor episodes, and I think. Yeah, but the Series 12, my favourite would be Spyfall Part 1. I'm not a fan of Part 2. Part 2 is dreadful in my opinion, but Episode 1 of Spyfall, very good. And also Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror, I think the name is.
Oh yeah, I love that episode. Yeah. Cracking one.
And I think Ascension of the Cybermen would be my third favourite, but then The Timeless Children lets it down massively.
Oh god, yeah.
we've reviewed that, and I gave it a 5 out of 10 in the end. So
fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to refresh myself of what's in it because I'm completely in agreement that Nikola Tesla is one of the best. I disagree with Ascension of the Cybermen.
Right.
But maybe I need to rewatch it. But yeah, no. Regardless of what you think of the Timeless Children twist, the episode itself is a bit rubbish. Yeah. Like, it looks quite nice. Like, Gallifrey looks gorgeous as it ever does when it appears in New Who. But just the story and how it's told, it's just kind of got a bit boring after a while. And for something massive to canon, that's a bit of an insult, really, isn't it?
It is. I completely agree. And I wish you were on episode 2 because you would have been able to back me up. Because I said exactly what you said, and I gave a 5 out of 10 overall. And they ripped into me saying I was harsh, and I was like, I'm not being harsh. And in all the subsequent polls I've put out, Ascension of the Cybermen, The Timeless Children always comes out at the bottom of the stories we've reviewed so far. So I thought I'm not harsh, I'm just being realistic. It's not an 8 out of 10, it's not a 9 out of 10, it's my opinion.
That's really... What, did they do it a 9 out of 10 for that episode?
I think the overall average score came out to about 7.3, 7.5 because of my 5, but they came up with like 8s, I believe. So.
Oh well, it's okay. They don't. It's okay to be wrong sometimes, but they very much are. So that's you know.
Again, Mike and Andrew, I hope you're listening to this.
Yeah, exactly. Screw you too. We're right.
Next up is Patrick Troughton.
Oh, Patrick Troughton. I've recently gotten into him. I watched Web of Fear, and I've watched a couple others, Tomb of the Cybermen, all the classics of the classics. And I love him. He's such a unique actor, and I'm so happy that he was chosen to follow up Hartnell because he's the right amount of different that they needed at the time.
Yeah.
Because it would have been very easy to cast someone, Hartnell-esque, to get sort of the same grumpy vibe. But he implemented so much more fun and comedy into it. I loved his costume. Love him and Jamie. It's such a damn good team. It's one of the best Doctor Who has to offer. And his era has more hits than even I realised when I got into him. So I'd say big old hit for Trout.
Big old hit as well for me because I think he doesn't have one bad story in my opinion. From what is left, he doesn't have one bad story.
Yeah.
And he'd be my favourite Doctor, and I'd say the Moon Base would be my number 1.
Oh really? The Moon that one I haven't seen. I will say one thing negative towards Troughton, and it's more of a personal thing. Because, as you might know, with the stuff that I make, I do a lot of impressions of all the Doctors. Troughton is one I've never fucking been able to do in my life. All the other Doctors, you can have a cadence. You have a bit of Tennant. You have a bit of Tom Baker. But Troughton, how the fuck do you do a Troughton voice? It's just sort of down and weird. And Jamie, that's the only word I can say. Jamie, how the hell? That's the problem. He's so unique, but that's also his biggest strength, if you understand.
Yeah, and he's very different to William Hartnell, as you said. And I think that's a very
incredibly
ballsy move, and I guess it kind of imprints the mythology of Doctor Who, because it's so different. The character's always different, the lead character, namely.
Yeah.
Because you went from like Matt Smith to Pierre Capaldi, who were completely different entities.
No, exactly. Troughton's incarnation is so deathly important to the survival of Doctor Who, and I think we all deserve to say a big old thank you to the team and Troughton himself for going that massive with the chain.
Absolutely. And if you guys listening at home have never seen this guy's videos, I'll leave a link in the description, should I say, and please just go over it, because his impressions are great. I had it listened last night. They're very funny.
Oh, thank you very much. Very kind of you.
They're very good. Could you do a quick 11th Doctor one for me, please?
Oh. Right. Hello, Stonehenge, who takes the Pandora, who takes the universe. Guess who? It's me, Matthew Smythe, standing on Stonehenge. You penises, I don't know.
Oh, that was good. Next up, Patrick
That's
Sharon.
the best I get.
It's hits from both of us for Patrick Sharon, yeah?
Oh, absolute big hit, yeah.
Awesome. Next up, a very obscure one, Derek the Doorman from Human Nature.
Derek the Doorman from Human Nature?
Yeah.
Who the hell is Derek the Doorman?
You have to listen to the podcast, because we talk about it, and I demand justice for Derek the Doorman. In Human
Derek
Nature.
the Doorman? Is he the one that gets zapped? Is he the homeless man with the cat? Oh, does he have a name in the credits, or have you just named him?
No, well, I have named him kind of, but that's the actor's name. Derek is the actor's name, and he's still alive. To be fair, he's about 93. But yeah, Derek the Doorman.
Well, in that case, no. Yeah, justice for Derek. Are you kidding me? He got such little screen time. He was deathly important to the story, and they took him out like that.
Yes.
0 out of 10. You know what? The Human Nature I've loved for years. 0 out of 10 story now. That's disgusting that they screwed that character. I'm fuming. I am.
Yeah, justice for Derek the Doorman. I'd give him a hit, even though he just stood there, give it a chin shaking. I'd give him a hit. That was a bit of a jokey one, but hit or miss for it.
Oh, big old hit. Are you kidding me? For the meme? Big hit.
I think I've started a meme now, because I saw a tweet about it. I thought,
well, I'm going to join in now. I'm all for it.
Awesome. Next up is very recent, actually. Daleks episode 1.
Daleks episode 1.
The animation that came out two days ago.
Oh, sorry. For some reason I thought you meant the Hartnell story, and I was like, recent? You kidding? Oh, I'd say big hit, personally. I got more sucked into it than I thought I would. The animation does hold it back a bit, but the script and Nick Briggs' performance absolutely carry it, and I am really more excited than I thought I would be to see where it goes.
Yeah, I have to watch it, because there's live episode tomorrow that we're going to be doing it, and we're going to be reviewing this story. And yeah, I won't go into much detail, because by this time I've already done it. But Daleks episode 1, I'm already invested. I'd probably give it 7 out of 10, 6.5, 7 out of 10.
I'd probably agree with that. I think the only thing weighing it down for me is I didn't actually realise it was connected to the Time Lord Victorious stuff. Yeah. And dear Christ, I've become very jaded to the idea. Like, I've loved the idea of Time Lord Victorious, but there's just so much being thrown at us at once that I don't know what to do with it.
Have you been consuming the content? Have you been buying stuff?
No, I've been holding off. I was going to, but there's like a bajillion audios, comics, merchandise, there's a bloody like escape room or something to do with it. And I'm just so confused. Like, now it's a separate universe. So there's a Dalek universe. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna wait a bit until like most of it's out, and then I'll make a judgment on it. Because right now I'm just confused.
Same. I do applaud the people that are actually keeping up to date with it because there is so much, and they released like a graphic with all the layers on how it's going to be released, and I think all for one story. There's about 20 things there, and I was just like, how are we going to consume all of this in a chronological order?
It's a fascinating idea. It's a really fun idea. You know, it crosses doctors, it crosses this, crosses that, but it can like tone it down a bit. Come on now. And it doesn't help that everyone has the complaint at the moment. I personally disagree, but I see the complaint of Tennant's doctor being shoved down everyone's throats from all sides. Like, I disagree. I understand that more doctors should get some limelight, but obviously, like, Tennant's the most bankable. So I understand why they're going this direction.
And if Tennant's the most willing to have his face out there, why not? Because Matt Smith hasn't ventured into Big Finish. Pierre Capaldi hasn't. Christopher Eccleston is just starting to creep back into the fandom.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Same. I'll be definitely buying that audio when it comes
out.
Oh,
no doubt. Like, I'm not big into the audios as a whole, but I'm getting that one. Are you kidding me?
That would be actually the first one I buy. I'll 100% get out as soon as it comes out. I'm very excited.
I love cheeky Eccleston. I'm so excited for him to be back.
Oh, I hope he comes back for the 60th, man. If that happens.
Oh, can you imagine? Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. All the modern Who Doctors back in one story. That'd be great.
I would I'd die. It would be amazing.
Why not have Paul McGann back as well? That'd be great.
Oh God, Paul McGann. Yes, please. He was robbed of being in Day of the Doctor, in my opinion. But again, we're getting a bit off track, I feel.
Yeah, we did have the Night of the Doctor, which was it was a good send off.
Oh, that was my favourite thing ever. That was the best thing to come out of the 50th, other than the Peter Davison 5-ish Doctors, which was absolute gold.
Yeah, I love that. I actually watched it yesterday with a mate in college. We got a bit bored, so we just put it on. It's very funny.
It is very good.
Next up, the final two, Sacha Dhawan, who is
Sacha Dhawan.
I'm sorry if I butchered the beginning.
Oh, people know what you're talking about. The current master. Yeah. At first, in Spyfall, when it was revealed, which was the first of many big reveals in Series 12, I was a bit worried he would be too similar to John Sim, because, he was doing the whole, like, stuff. But as it went on, like in Part 2, and when he appeared later on in the series, I loved how sort of sinister mad he played it. It was less sort of in your face and more like deeply staring into your soul. There was a lot to it, and he's easily one of the best parts of the Whittaker era for me. It's very, very exciting.
He would be the number one in this era for me. I think he's the best thing to come out of it.
Oh yeah, he's definitely up there for me.
I do agree, sort of, that he does kind of resemble John Sim, but I also made this connection in a previous episode that he I can tell he's taken inspiration from Anthony Aney.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah, because I watched the 5 Doctors and I thought the resemblance, the portrayal was very uncanny. But I'd say more John Sim than Aney. But yeah, he's if he hasn't watched the portrayals of the other two, I'd be very surprised.
No, yeah, I think he's clearly taken it quite seriously, this role, because I've seen him talk about it many times, and he clearly pays a lot of respect to past incarnations, and I'm so glad he was chosen. I'm glad, and I also noticed, how the Doctor Who community hates change, even though it's a big part of the show. People have accepted him a lot quicker than they have the current Doctor, I've noticed. And I don't know if that's to do with the writing, the performance, or the actor as a whole, but people are a lot more interested in this master than they are Jodie's Doctor.
I would say it's more to do with the acting, because I do think some people are very, how do I say this? I lost my train of thought. I think some people are very scared of criticizing the acting in this era, but I do think Jodie has grown on me. But that's the thing with Sacha. He took the show by storm. He was excellent from the moment go, and I think he's the best. He's one of the best portrayals of the Master ever, in my opinion. I think it was Spyfall Part 1 or Part 2, where he bursts into the room and he makes the Doctor kneel.
Oh yeah, that was part two. That's when I fell. That's exactly when I fell in love with him. I completely agree.
That was my favorite scene
That
with him.
moment, he owns it. He absolutely owns it.
Yeah.
That little, and I love the return of that little master gadget from the Delgado era, the shrinking one.
Yes.
That was a fun little nod, and absolutely smack. Big old hit for Sacha Dhawan.
Big old hit for me as well. He's a great actor. I've seen him in other stuff. He was in After Earth with Will Smith and Jaden Smith.
Was he?
a very underrated film in my opinion. It gets so much hate, and I like it. I like After Earth.
Oh.
Have you seen it?
Fair enough. I've seen bits of it, not enough to say that I like it. Mostly because it was all the Jaden bits.
Yeah.
And I think he's dreadful. But no, I did not know Sacha Dhawan was in that. That's really interesting. Who does he play?
I believe he was the captain of the ship that crashed.
Oh,
But
cool.
it wasn't like a big role. But when he was cast, I recognised him from that. But he was also in Dracula, Stephen Moffat's.
yeah,
series
I saw a
from
bit
BBC.
of that.
And episode
Yeah, I was going to watch that.
Yeah, it's very good. The first two episodes, anyway. Episode 3, I think most people would agree, it kind of falls off.
So I've heard.
Yeah, but episode 1 broadcast after episode 1 of Spyfall. So we had like Sasha Inception on that day because we had back to back, and then he played a big part in episode 2 of Dracula, and he played a great performance. He was great in that.
Yeah.
And it was a bit more serious. It was like a human compared to like the Master, a Time Lord. So it shows his talent, definitely.
Oh, yeah, he's a very talented actor.
Yes. Finally would be Mark Gatiss and his stories.
Ooh, Mark Gatiss. I see a lot of people hate Mark Gatiss' stories, and I am so in a disagreement.
Yeah.
I've got such a soft spot for his love of Doctor Who. You can tell. I mean, I think the only one I didn't like is the Ice Warrior one, the one with the Empress. But other than that, every story just oozes love and interest in the show as a whole. It's not exactly the most dramatic. It's not exactly the most this that. It is just pure escapism, and I adore stories like that from Doctor Who.
Absolutely. Gatiss was like Moffat's friend with this. He, of course, created Sherlock, which Moffat also did, and he had so many opportunities to write for the show. I think he's got about 9 credits, and every single one of them, I wouldn't say there's one terrible one.
Yeah. I think, because I'm trying to remember. Oh, yes, please, yeah.
And after I see each one, just quickly say hit or miss, and then we'll see how
Good
many
idea.
we come up to.
Okay.
The Unquiet Dead.
Oh, big hit. Love that one.
Hit for me as well, I love it. The Idiot's Lantern.
Idiots. That's the one with the wire, isn't
Yes, yeah.
it? I'd say that's a hit. Although in hindsight, the villain is very silly. I like her, but I remember her being a lot more threatening as a child.
I'd give this a soft miss, to be honest.
Really?
It's decent, but it would fall under the bad rather than good category for me. But
fair enough.
it doesn't mean it's awful. But yeah, Victory of the Daleks. Underrated in my opinion.
I'd say hit. I like it more than most people. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because I like the paradigm, but I'll admit that more could have been done. But I've always had a soft spot for Victory. Maybe it's because of my soft spot for Series 5, but I like it. Big old hit for Jack.
I like it. Probably be a 7 out of 10. One of
Yeah.
them. Yeah. Next up, Night Terrors from 2011, Series 6.
Oh, Night Terrors. That's the one in the doll's house.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was a creepy one for Gators, wasn't it? I'd say hit. Although between me and a friend of mine, the kid in that is an absolute meme. 3 times you have to do the light 3 times.
With all the blinking as well, it does get a bit too much. But the actual episode, I only rewatched that about 2 weeks ago, and a bit more than 2 weeks ago. But I still think it's a very good story. Matt Smith played a blinder. He was great.
Yeah.
Next up, so would it be a hit or a miss for Night Terrors?
Oh, I'd say hit on the whole, yeah.
Yeah. Next up, Cold War, which I absolutely love. This would be a strong hit. This is the Ice Warriors one with Matt Smith.
I don't know actually. I haven't got quite a soft spot for it,
Ooh.
but I'd say a soft hit Because
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's terrible,
Mm.
but I wouldn't say it's one of my faves. So I'd say soft hit because I enjoyed it.
Fair enough. So you're not really a fan of the Ice Warriors in Modern Hue? Because I think you
I
mentioned
wouldn't say
Empress was.
that.
Okay.
I think I like the villain as a whole. I just don't like the stories, I suppose, because I like the idea of the Ice Warriors, but I don't think they've ever been used very well. Although I haven't seen the classic two stories with them, so maybe
Fair
I need
enough.
to do that.
Okay. Last fall is the Crimson Horror.
Ooh, I have a soft spot for the Crimson Horror.
Same.
It's a weird story. I like how weird it is. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it's a fascinating tale. Lots of twists. I love that Matt Smith's Doctor is sort of, he's in a state of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not on the backbench, but he's like, he's in a very, I can't talk. Not good for a podcast, is it? He's vulnerable. That's the word. He's very vulnerable in that story, especially the first half where he's a big old stiff red boy. I thought that was quite interesting.
Ridiculous, yeah. Interesting,
Yeah.
but ridiculous. But
Yeah,
I do like the story.
a Paternoster Gang. I like them. They're not my favourite, but I like them.
Same. And of course they came back
I'd
afterwards.
say, yeah, and I would say, I'd say hit. I'd say hit. I like it.
And of course Clara comes back. I do love a bit of Clara. She was great. Jenna Coleman's
Yeah,
performance.
I think I loved Jenna's performance. Didn't like Clara the character. So I think that's what it came down to.
Fair
I liked watching it, but she's not going to be one of my favorites anytime soon.
She wasn't that great in retrospect, in hindsight, in Series 8 and 9. But I think in Series 7, that was her best performance, best era.
Yeah.
Last three, actually. Robot of Sherwood from Series 8.
Oh, I liked that one. I think Series 8 was trying to go for a very dark tone. This is not a very dark tone, but I love how much fun they have with the Robin Hood stuff. Like the guy who plays Robin Hood, oh my god, I loved him. He was absolute joy to watch. Just ha ha ha, like all the stupid laughs.
Tom Riley, his name was, who played Robin
Tom-
Hood.
that's
He was
it, Tom
very good,
Riley.
Yeah.
And the guy who played the King of Sherwood or whatever it was, I liked him. I liked him in. A very good story. I like Big Old Hit Jack.
Ben Miller.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I do love that story. Next up is Sleep No More.
Think not. Oh yeah. I forgot he had written that one. I'd call it a miss. I remember rewatching it not too long ago.
Same.
It was a bit. It sort of relied too much on the found footage aspect that didn't add anything.
No.
I didn't like that one-off character that was like a mute or something, like the brain of a child, and it was very weird. I liked the monsters, but they didn't have anything to do. I like the ending where it's like you've got something in your eye, but I'd say on the whole, big old miss.
And I'm just looking at the ratings actually, and guess who gave this story a 5 out of 5?
Who did that?
Radio Times.
Really?
Radio Times gave this a 5 out of 5.
Radio Times.
I know.
That is weird.
And the thing is, I do like the ending, as you say, but as for the ongoing joke about the Sandmen and the Sandman song, I thought this is a bit over the top.
Yeah, it was a bit. It was a very Gatist thing to include. You know, again, it was like having fun with it, but I don't think that story really benefited from a fun atmosphere. It should have gone full horror if it was going to do anything.
I think it's very overhated, but I wouldn't say it's good. I would say it's soft miss.
It was, it's just sort of bland, and that's one of the. If anything, that's almost worse than outright hating it. Like everyone hates the Timeless Children, for example, but like no one's getting in a fight about Sleep No More.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, yeah, that happened. Let's move on.
Final one is Empress of Mars.
Ooh, big ol' miss. I like how weird it is, but that's it. It's just kind of boring. It's the most filler Mark Gatiss has ever done, because it came right before the finale, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, just big old miss. Didn't like it. No, zero.
It was followed by the Eaters of Light and came after the Lie of the Land. So not
Oh
quite
yeah,
bad
Series
phenomenon.
10, such a weird series. I like Series 10 on the whole, but it was a weird series.
Yeah, I do like series 10, but I agree there's very few outstanding episodes. There was two-part finale, that was great. After that, no.
Is that all of his stories? Has he not been writing anything?
I think he's done some mini stories maybe, but that's all
Yeah.
that's all for Doctor Who.
Oh, fair enough.
So I think you said 3 of those were misses, 6 of those were hits.
Oh, okay, well, that's good. I stand by what I say about Gatiss then. I'd say he's a big old hit on the whole.
I agreed. I'd give it a hit. I do think that some people will say miss, because there are a couple of iffy stories, but yeah, on the whole,
Yeah.
HoM's right here. He doesn't do anything too controversial. Sleep No More, maybe the biggest misstep there, but I wouldn't say it was inherently bad, but yeah. That's the Hit or Miss section done.
Excellent.
We did go on for a bit too long on Mark Gatiss, but hopefully that was a bit interesting for you guys listening on. Now, the episode review.
Oh, here we go.
Would you like to reveal what story we'll be reviewing today?
Oh, I would like to. Shock of all shocks, it's not Doctor Who, it's one of the spin-offs. It is the Sarah Jane Adventures crossover episode, Death of the Doctor, starring Matthew Smythe.
Yes, this episode actually won the poll we put out, so yeah, Death of the Doctor. Great story, but I won't get into it quite yet. Do you have a log line to summarise your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say as a general thought, the episode is a really, really cool one. It was a very good idea, having a Death of a Doctor story. I mean, obviously he's not dead, but to watch how the companions would react. And obviously you have the perfect setup with the Sarah Jane Adventures. You're following one of the most popular companions of all time. And, it's great crossover appeal for other companions. I'm so glad they got Katie Manning in this.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd agree Katie Manning in this was an absolute delight.
Oh, she was one of the best things in it, yeah. Her,
Yeah.
Sarah Jane and Smith, their chemistry was superb. Even when they
Oh
were
God,
apart,
so
yeah.
much, yeah. I'd say Matt Smith in this again. I'm actually very glad and surprised they held off on his appearance, much like they did for the Tennant crossover. They saved him for more part 2. I'm very impressed that they did that twice. Obviously, it's so tempting to just have Smith be in all of it. But no, I'm very impressed that they didn't do that. I love the villain. Big fan of the Shanshis. The design is so cartoony and weird, and I love him. And the fact that David Bradley is the voice, I completely forgot that until the rewatch. And that absolutely made my day. Realised, it's William Hartnell. Love the Shanshis. Although I will admit, I do kind of wish that the Trickster was the villain again, just to have some sort of through line for the crossovers. But that's more of a fanboy wish than anything. But the Shanshis were great. Didn't like this sort of sub-unit villain. I think she was a bit crap, but I understand her need to be in there. That is narratively, makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the notes I've made is a very specific. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, just a log line, just explain, summarize basically. So that's
Okay.
yours. I'll just quickly give mine. I said it's a terrific story that reunited 2 of the most popular companions. It has great acting and comedy. Death of the Doctor is such fun viewing, even if I could count the pixels when I watched it. I watched it on Daily Motion because I don't have the DVDs yet. And
I see.
with Daily Motion, there were 2 uploads, and you could either watch it back to front. So the right is actually the left is actually the right. You put that on first. Or you could watch it with seriously reduced quality, and unfortunately I chose a very reduced quality.
Oh, I see.
And it was very annoying, but yeah, I still loved it. Still loved watching it, even though if it was frustrating. And on the second part especially, I got an advert every 5 minutes, and I was like, this website is
Oh
crap.
no, that's the worst.
Yeah, at least it's only
Thank God I have thank God I have the DVD.
I'll be getting that next month, hopefully Christmas. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I didn't get that in time, but there we go.
That's all right.
Now, have you got your notes in chronological order?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. So I'll just jump straight into it. Whenever you feel like just popping in just to give your opinion, feel free to do so. I put episodes starting with Luke, who had left a few episodes previous. I think it was in The Nightmare Man, which was his final story. That was the first episode of Series 4. This was the third story. It was a nice touch and reaffirmed his friendship with Clyde with some nice comedy across the webcam.
Yeah, I liked Luke. I think Luke was always sort of the weak link of the companions, but I did like him more in the later seasons. In The Nightmare Man, that was a great story.
Yeah, Nightmare Man's great, but I agree with Luke because he was definitely the weakest, because in this story in particular, I did write a note later in the story how much I love Clyde and Ronnie. They're very good actors.
Yeah, I'm so glad they reappeared in that sort of tribute to Sarah Jane, because
100%.
so
That
good.
was very emotional.
I wish they did audios.
Oh yeah, but then I think they have actually done one, and all they've put into production, and it's going to be Elizabeth Sladen's daughter, I believe, who's going to be voice acting as her. Yeah, I think
that's really interesting.
That was announced a couple months ago, I think.
Oh, I'll have to look into that.
I may have just dreamed it up, but yeah, I think that actually happened. I think that actually happened. My next note was the music throughout the story was amazing.
I'd agree with that.
I thought it was Murray Gold, but I think some Murray Gold music was used, but the actual composer for the story was Sam Watts.
Okay.
He did a great job, especially with the Shanchief music, the Mind Hallucinogenic music. That was beautiful, and every time that came up, I thought, this is superb. But yeah, Sam Watts hit out of the park with this one. I always love the music, and the music in this episode is very, very essential to get the emotions out of the viewers. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree,
Yeah. Do you have any notes for the first few moments?
Not so much. There's a lot of setting the scene. I think the main thing I've got for that is Sarah Jane's reaction, like when being told from unit. I think that's sort of the first time when I started doing the notes. My favourite part about that is her reaction seems very in line with her character. She's a journalist, she asks questions, so of course she's skeptical that like, the doctor is dead. No, I doubt that. I love that.
I agree. She seemed like the character she was in the 70s. She was very, very reminiscent of that, and I thought that's a nice throwback how she's delivering these lines. And I think that would be in line with her character, I'd agree. And talking about the grief and that kind of thing, Ace Batty, the actor who played Ronnie's dad, he only had a brief appearance, but his sympathetic acting was simple but effective and was brilliant. He captured the grief of Ronnie and Clyde when they were very emotional. Ronnie was emotional, and Ace Batty's face dropped, and I thought, I do love physical acting where there's no actual conversation, it's just the actual emotion. And I think he's a good actor, because I remember him in other episodes. I think he started in season 2 of Sarah Jane Adventures, and he went on right to the end. And he's a good actor, and Ronnie's dad, do love him.
No, yeah, he was always a standout. Like, they did surprisingly well with the parent actors. It was very believable. Like, I remember both of Ronnie's parents were hilarious. Clyde's mum. No, well, I like Maria's dad, but her mum was atrocious.
Yeah. Next up, I've got the Grosk. The Grosk came in. Of course, Grosk spin-off. They were blue this time though, and they were only there to forward on the plot, but they weren't bad.
Yeah, they were a good little. It would have been more. It's more interesting than just having unit soldiers. Exactly. I like that it's populated by these weird little alien boys.
Exactly, and you got to remember it's like a sci-fi show, so there's going to be some elements to that. And of course, the static electricity was blue between the Doctor and Clyde, so I do like the fact that they were blue as well, and then the Grosk could sense the blue on his hand.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of my favourite parts. That's why I brought up the Trickster. Is that I wish there was a bit more crossover between the two Doctor crossovers, because that Artron energy was, of course, a big part of the wedding of Sarah Jane, the one with Tennant in, and having that be like a connective thing, I thought was ingenious. You know, having Clyde still have that Artron energy in his hand, that being the way that Matt Smith's Doctor arrives.
And I love the amount of flashbacks there were. There were flashbacks to that episode. There were flashbacks, of course, later on in the episodes to the fourth and third Doctors. And the flashbacks, yeah. It was fantastic. If you've got no notes, let's go on to Joe's entrance scene. The actual
absolutely.
Do you want to go first with this one?
I can do. I love that it's because obviously she's sort of more known for being the sort of typical blonde, dumb like side character as companions go. I don't think that's quite what she was as a whole, but that's what she's known for. So introducing her with a bit of ditzy comedy was bloody brilliant. Joe's inclusion on a whole is so good. It's
Agreed.
A brilliant move to have this. Not only that, but the companion that came, if I'm not mistaken, right before. Sarah Jane?
Jane was right before Sarah Jane, yeah.
Yeah. And if anything, it's kind of... I kind of am a bit bitter in the sense that I wish they got more companions in it, but as a focusing tool, having just Joe was the right way to go.
Agreed, and it was such a nice reunion of them, because I think there was a bit... It was mentioned in the dialogue that they hadn't mentioned each other, but they were aware of each other's presence.
Yeah.
And, of course, in part 2, where Joe talks to the Doctor... And, there's actually a bit of dialogue that comes before that where Joe and Sarah talk, and Sarah mentions that she's seen the Doctor twice, and then Joe hasn't seen the Doctor once since. And I thought, at least
that hit hard.
And I thought, at least this is some justice for Joe's character. And in part 2, that's delved a lot more into...
Oh, yeah, the scene between all of them on the planet. That was superb.
The planet was very beautiful, even though like I said, the pixels, I could see the bloody pixels instead of the actual, the scenery. But yeah, the planet was very nice. It was very beautiful, even though it was probably some cheap CGI. It was very pretty. But yeah, the entrance was done surprisingly well. Like the music, like I said earlier, it was very emotional. And then you just hear like a pot smash. I think it was the vase.
Yeah.
And I put that loudness can be forgiven, since the general feeling at that time was that it was like a sham funeral. It wasn't real. But it did feel odd that they used the scene for them all to chat rather than mourn the Doctor, because this is such an emotional scene, and you can kind of get the sense that Sarah's actually believe in it with all the music, like believing that the Doctor is dead. So to have this come in and then the tone of the episode shift back to this isn't real, I thought it was a bit meh. I think they should have left that for the scene where they actually went to their rooms and then they chatted about it. But to have it in the funeral, it can be forgiven, but I'm not the biggest fan of that.
No, I do get that. I think that's kind of problematic of Sarah Jane being shown to more younger audiences. Like they kind of have to have a more comedic edge. You know, you can't just have a very popular character's funeral. You know, if it's the Doctor's funeral, it's going to be very, very harsh. So I understand introducing Joe in the comedic way, but I do agree that I kind of wish there was a bit more to it.
But this is the flashbacks I mentioned earlier, the Tennant flashbacks from the wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, and then you've also got Tom Baker in the TARDIS, and you've got John Pertwee with in the car, in the yellow car, Betsy, I think his name is. Love these flashbacks. And so many references as well. There's so many continuity things that I'll talk about later, but there's so many references, so many episodes, especially in part 2. And when they go to the room to talk about their past experiences, it's like, the Doctor took me here, the Doctor took me there, and I thought, the amount of nostalgia that gave me was great. I love that. I love this
it's very good.
Yeah, and I also mentioned the chemistry between Sladen and Manning was so excellent.
Oh god, they got on like a house on fire. I'm really surprised of how well it turned out.
I would be surprised if they hadn't practiced this a lot before the episode actually filmed. I think they must have spoke to each other quite a bit, because when they actually got on screen, it was electric. Like you said,
on fire. like you said, I'm sure they like rehearsed it a lot, but it also came across like they just met each other, like when they found out who they are and how they got on.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how they did it. It's just two brilliant actors doing what they do.
And they got so excited when they understood the reference and like they understood, and when they were on the same wavelength about something, they just high fived and stuff like that. And I thought, this is great. Having having two companions, not just be there for exposition, but actually forward on a story and be the actual main focus of an episode without the Doctor. I love that transition.
Agreed.
Yeah. The comedy in the shafts was funny. It reminded me of why I love the show, because I haven't actually seen an episode of Sarah Jane Adventures, should I say, for about 6 or 7 years now. Last time I watched it was when I was about 11 or 12. I don't know how often you watch them, but it just reminded me of the comedy and why I love it, because when Ronnie said to Clyde, I'm staring at your bum, and I thought that was such great delivery.
No joke, that's the exact line I've got quoted here. It's the only specific line I have, and that's a full-on joke between me and my friend. Every once in a while, it's just Clyde, I'm looking at your bum. Oh, it's so wonderfully stupid, and I love it.
Yeah. And then when Clyde realizes that his hand has got static electricity, and then the music ramps up as the Shang-Chi find out, and then you just see the blue light shaking in the vent, and I thought that's such a well-directed, edited, acted, put-together scene.
Yeah.
And I do love the realization that they have found out that they're in the shaft listening to him, because there was a very jarring kind of scene where the Shang-Chi are very kind, and then it shifts when they get there to they will die, and I thought I can see why it's not a bit more played upon a bit more, because of course the episodes are 30 minutes long, so they have to get on with it. But I do think the Shang-Chi dramatic transition to good to absolutely dreadfully evil was a bit jarring, but yeah. It's Sarah Jane Adventures at the end of the day, and like you said, there's got to be some leeway, there's got to be some comedy. It can't be dark all the time.
No, fair enough.
I then put Smith's introduction was great, but he didn't steal the show, since Sladen and Manning have been superb throughout, so I wouldn't say Smith stole the scene. Even though he was excellent, the roles were shared and all of them were great, and I would put there was not a single bad performance in the story.
Everyone all around was pretty great. I will say maybe one weak element was Joe Grant's son. I understand his inclusion because they needed someone for the flashbacks of not just Joe with the Doctor, but just what Joe's been up to now, in the same way that Clyde and Rani were for Sarah. But
he was only there to rattle off countries they've been to. So
it was just whenever he was on screen, I'm just like, I don't care. I'll just get back to the ones I care about. Thank you. Like, there's so many. All the other characters really are, well, other than the villain, obviously, were we're characters we know, we've grown to love. Then there's just this twonk. I think his name was San Francisco or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it.
They're talking about aliens, and then this guy just comes in. Like, we went to this country, and I thought, I don't care. The only moment I actually cared was in the flashback scene at the very end when they're defeating the Shang-Chi, and Joe Grant says, "Oh, the countries," and then it kind of goes through all the countries. That's the only bit where I thought that's a good use of the country dialogue. But as for the actual San Francisco, not for me either. Is there anything you'd like to mention, like notes? Because I've only got one note left for this episode.
I'd say on the Red Planet, that whole scene between Smith, Sarah, and Joe was superb. There's nothing. There's nothing I can critique. Oh, is that? Oh, sorry, you meant part one. No, for part one, that's all I've got, I think.
Okay, but so I'll just say my final one. It was an awesome cliffhanger of the Doctor being vaporized, or so we thought. Like, he only just came out and now he's dying again.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a cop-out. Maybe it's just because of the, outside of Who fact that, of course, the Doctor's fine. And plus in part two, it's almost immediately fine. But I don't know. I think the reveal could have just been Matt Smith's entrance and the Sanshis coming up. I don't think they needed to go the full hog and zap Smith.
Yeah. But then, of course, Clyde came back. We're on to part 2 now. We won't give a rating for part 1. We'll just go with the whole story at the end, since you don't have a rating already. So yeah, part 2. It was kind of like you said, a cop-out beginning when Clyde just came back and the Shanship were just standing there like, what's going on? And I thought, why is he just standing there? Run! And then Sarah Jane says that eventually, but I was like, that could have happened about 5 seconds ago. Why did you leave it for that extra 5 seconds? Maybe it's an editing thing or direction thing, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I disagree with the cliffhanger. I say the cliffhanger was very good, but the actual resolution to the cliffhanger, it was very cop-out-ish.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. My second note was the scene where the Doctor has to decide between the kids and Sarah Jane and Joe, when Sarah Jane and Joe were being kidnapped by the Shanshif.
Yeah, that was a nice little moment where he was just like having a minor panic just in the vent, just like, Like, it was more. It wasn't really fear or worry. It was more of a, for God's sake, guys.
I put exactly that. I put Smith portrayed his frustration excellently, and it was a very nice scene. Because of course Matt Smith isn't the most serious Doctor. He's like playful-ish. So to have his kind of frustration, but not like, oh, this is bad frustration. Like, he played it off very lightly, and I thought Smith, he was so good in the story. Man, I think we actually have got a bit ahead of ourselves, because the Red Planet scene came before that, and it was the scene where the Doctor talks to Joe Grant.
Yeah, that was a perfect scene. If any scene, I would change nothing, absolutely nothing about that scene. It was beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, and it was like saying, so you've been watching me all this time? And the Doctor says, no, because you're right, I can't look back. But then he mentions in this last regeneration, of course, the 10th Doctor coming into the 11th Doctor. He said he went back to look at every single companion. And I thought, that's a lovely sentiment, but is it actually realistic? He's dying, so he goes back to see every single companion ever, and he also sees out their whole lives. And I think that's just a bit over the top, but the sentiment that was there, it was very nice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Really good idea.
Do you have anything else to say about that scene before we move it on?
That scene, I like how they use sort of Joe's travelling to their advantage in the plot. Like, it could have been easy, just use the Doctor's big old brain and get them off, but it was specifically like something in Joe's bag from her travels that got the machine working. That was a nice little touch.
Yeah. With all their and here, and then Sarah Jane just sonics it, and it's like it was so simple, but it's just Sarah Jane helping the Doctor again. So, and I thought, I love this. But then when they actually get to the shaft and the Doctor reaches the Clyde and Rani and the Grusk, where the Doctor kind of rattles back in the shaft because he can't turn backwards. And then Clyde says, well, you'll have to just move backwards instead of going around. And Matt Smith goes, yeah, thank you, Clyde. And I thought that was such a simple, funny moment.
All the little comedy beats in this, like, it's a small moment, but it does stick with you, doesn't it? It's it's just very funny. It's just, the Doctor's just sheer confusion of he can't turn around. And then Clyde's like, back up, and he's like, thanks.
And of course you've got the exchange. And you've got the exchange.
Questions about regenerations. That was comedy gold.
Yeah, when he states that you can regenerate 507 times, contrary to the original 12. It actually does say Davies subsequently explained that this was a joke, both on the Doctor's part and on his. But with the time of children, 507 could be realistic nowadays.
I suppose it could, yeah. I like how it. I do still think that he's just dicking about. Like, if Matt Smith is just like, is this the time? 507, whatever. Stop asking me questions. Just shuffle.
Yeah, but I think Matt Smith and Clyde and all the acting from like I said earlier, Clyde was great, and so was Smith, and so was Katie, and so was Sarah Jane. But having that moment with Clyde and the Doctor again, like we had in the less so in the wedding of Sarah Jane Smith. I keep trying to say the wedding of River Song here, but I've been keeping it off luckily. But yeah, to have that moment between Clyde and the Doctor, I love that, especially with Smith being my favourite Doctor. So to have that interaction with the Sarah Jane companions, I thought, I'm so glad they did these crossover episodes, because they could have easily just had, no, like Torchwood, there's going to be separate entities altogether. We're not going to bring up the Doctor Who mythology. I think they do mention the Doctor quite a bit in Torchwood, but less so in Series 4 onwards. But Sarah Jane Adventures did love to have those crossover episodes, the references, and I thought I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
So I also put the plan of stealing the TARDIS key by their memories was a great idea, but I don't know if you know, but I ran an account called The Valley Yard. Do you know that channel?
Yeah.
And I posted a clip on that channel once, a couple years ago now, and the top comment was, they defeated them with the strongest weapon of all, stock footage. And that was the top comment, and still is. Yeah.
Oh, it's just like the guy editing this was just like, well, I've got a few classic DVDs, I've got the reels of footage, I'll just shove it in, see what happens.
Yeah, it wasn't like the best resolution, but I did love the amount of throwbacks.
Yeah.
Because at the start I was like, oh, please tell me they're gonna reference like the third and the fourth Doctor, because in the first couple like 10 flashbacks it was all the 10th Doctor, and I was like, please just get on with it and just show the classic Who stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a decent scene. And of course my next one, the scene where they're trying to get the Sarah and Joe out once they're actually out of the chairs, and Clyde hitting the door with the barrel of sorts was so funny.
Oh god,
it was such an epic scene, and then there you have Clyde's just hitting the door with no avail, and I thought
that is such a Clyde thing to do, though. That is brilliant. Like, of course Clyde would just grab something heavy and chuck it at a door. That is brilliant.
Like it was, like you said, it's just the small moments that make it so funny. And it's just a kid's show, and it was like that last scene was so dark with all the explosions and everyone burning alive, so I thought having that moment in there just kind of relieved the tension a bit, and I thought I appreciate that a lot. So as for the resolution, I thought it was a very good scene, very good music, though of course the stock footage did let it down kind of, but I do appreciate the references.
Yeah, I think there was only ever one way of doing it. I mean, it would have been amazing if they got like Tom Baker in or something, but no, I appreciate that's probably one of the only ways to do it.
Yeah, or having Tom Baker back, that would have been good.
Oh, okay. That's the one thing I will say about Day of the Doctor. They brought back Tom Baker. It didn't make sense, but I love it.
Yeah, someone actually made an edit of the Day of the Doctor with old Tom Baker, and it's Sarah Jane Smith edited in, and it's kind of the Doctor saying, do you want to go on one final trip? And Sarah Jane says, oh yes please, and it's such a beautiful edit.
Yeah, I have seen that image. Oh, I want it.
Do you have any notes for this episode? Because I could just get on with after the resolution.
Okie dokie.
Do you have any notes?
Not really. I think I'll be honest. I was just sort of enjoying it at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's such a nice, like that whole scene in the TARDIS. First of all, I will always have a soft spot for the Series 5 TARDIS, but
oh, it's great.
It's that like when Matt Smith basically messes with him, just like, I think when I die, the whole world will share. Just scares them. It's such a nice little way to end the show. Like it is sincere, but it's also wrapped up in a kid-friendly joke.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it.
Yeah, that came after the Doctor's reaction when Joe mentions the Time Lords, and the Smith just like face drops, just staring at her blankly. And I thought, like I said earlier, I do love the physical acting when the actor doesn't actually say anything. Smith's face told 1,000 words when Joe mentioned the Time Lords. Like, I don't want to get you in trouble with the Time Lords, and the Doctor just stares at her.
Oh god, yeah. That moment was meh.
Yeah. But then, of course, that bit of dialogue, and then they leave the TARDIS and the materialization, and Joe gets to say it for one final time. I thought that was a good touch as well.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of nice, fun moments that it just like it must have been so much fun to be Katie Manning filming this episode, especially like
I can
it
tell she
must
had a lot of
be
fun.
so cool.
But she had a lot of fun at the same time, but she also had the gravitas so naturally, so she didn't have to force her performance. She kind of slopped back into that role so easy.
Yeah.
I also put a lovely moment when Jo forgot her glasses were on the top of her head at the end. And they
Yeah,
have to
nice.
remind her.
Again, going back to like the forgetful sort of ditzy companion that she is remembered to be.
And then I put also, final note was there were several references of the former companions at the end.
Oh yeah, like Ace and Ian and Barbara.
Yeah.
That was a really nice moment as well. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll just quickly go through the list of the references. So we heard Liz Shaw is working on the unit's moon base. Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart is stranded in Peru. But he did actually appear in the Sarah Jane Adventure story.
He did. That was a nice story.
Yeah. Bob Wright and Ian Chesterton are married and professors at Cambridge University, and they have not aged since the 60s.
Ha! That was I want to see the story with that. Are you kidding me?
That's very possible nowadays. They could just get some actresses in.
Yeah, like the ones that have been doing the audio.
Exactly. Even though Ben and Polly in Twice Upon a Time wasn't that good. They looked a lot like them, but the actual performances, nah.
No, fair enough.
But Ben Jackson and Polly are married and run an orphanage in India.
Oh, that was a nice one.
Harry Sullivan worked on vaccines that saved thousands of lives. The character mentioned him in the past tense, possibly a reference to the death of Ian Marter, the actor that played Harry Sullivan.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. I like how she goes like, "Oh, Harry," like because obviously they were good friends on the show. It was a nice moment.
And the fact that he saved thousands of lives, which is kind of in line with his character of always helping people.
Absolutely.
And Tegan has become an advocate for Aboriginal rights.
Yeah, checks out.
And a companion named Dorothy has raised billions of pounds for a non-profit organisation.
Oh, good old Ace.
Yeah.
That was good old Ace.
Good old Ace.
Completely flew over my head the first time I watched it, but when I was watching it now, I'm like, wait, no, that's Ace! Yes!
But yeah, it said Dorothy in there. I'm not quite sure.
That's because her canonical real name is Dorothy, because she was supposed to be like in the Wizard of Oz style, like just sort of a girl out of her time.
Okay.
That's because I'm a big McCoy and Ace nut. That's the only reason I know this.
Fair enough. And the final one. What do you mean the Mona Lisa? The Doctor said. The Doctor had actually previously dealt with the Mona Lisa himself in the serial City of Death, but also I think it was a reference to the Sarah Jane Adventure story where they do battle the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, that was a weird episode. That was.
I think I mentioned it in a previous episode, but that episode gave me nightmares as a kid.
Yeah, there's a lot of horror in that one.
It kind of absorbs the woman's face onto the Mona Lisa, and it was like a deformed version of the Mona Lisa, and it gave me nightmares. I was like, that is so creepy. And that's the end of my notes. Is there anything you thought was
the end of mine? Yeah, I'd say just sort of on the whole, it's a hard episode to hate. Like the crossover appeal is there for so many reasons. All the actors were on point. It was fabulous.
Absolutely. Do you have a rating out of 10?
I have decided on a good old 8 out of 10.
That's very fair. This is gonna come up to one of the highest in the leaderboard, I think.
Oh, how exciting.
Yep, I'll give mine quickly. I'll just put it into Google. Oh, it's doing this again.
What's he doing?
Basically, I kind of Google what's the average of this number and this number, and it usually comes up, but when it's decimals, it doesn't do so.
Oh, have you put decimals?
I have got a decimal score for this one, yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. I do have the final rating now, but I will say it once I've given my summary. So I have put an excellent romp of a story with terrific acting, music, and as the story itself is very well written. The use of stock footage to find the resolution wasn't great, but the use of them to reference so many adventures was was great. Sladen, Manning, and Smith were superb apart and together from each other. Along with the hauntingly beautiful music, I'd give this story a 9.5 out of 10.
Whoa, that's way higher than that's no, honestly, I completely agree. Anything below an 8 would be an absolute disservice for this episode.
And that brings the average to an 8.75.
Whoa, goddamn.
So I think this comes to second so far on the leaderboard.
Oh really? What's number 1?
I think it's Human Nature, The Family of Blood.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Which is a 9 out of 10. And then it's got The Curse of Fatal Death, that's an 8 out of 10, that's third place. And then The God Complex and Ascension below those.
Alright, well, fantastic. I'd agree with that list, so it's clearly working a treat.
Absolutely. And that was the first episode of non-Doctor Who that we've actually talked about, so that's nice.
Excellent.
Yeah. And it's a very short one today, considering there were only 2 of us here today.
True, but I think it's gone well. We've had a lot to talk about, especially with the that middle section, with the hit and the miss section.
Especially Mark Gatiss, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun, even though it was meant to be 3 or 4 of us. I think just the 2 of us, I think we banged this out pretty well. So that's good.
Yeah, I'd say this was a good heck of a time.
Heck of a time, yes. I think this come out to about hour 15, which is a lot shorter than the others, but what can you do? Plus, I need to be gone in about 10 minutes time to have some food, so yeah.
Oh, yum.
Yum, yum.
Right, well, it was an absolute pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, man.
No problem. No problem. I'm here for you, man. I've got you.
Thank you, and we got the chase next week as well, so that'll be great fun.
Oh, very excited for that.
Yeah. By the time this comes out, it'll be about 2 weeks after we filmed, 1 week after we filmed. But that actual episode doesn't come out to Christmas Day.
Oh wow, Christmas Day. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a very special episode. Okay. And in fact, as long as everything goes to plan, there's going to be like a cameo with Katie Manning in it.
Oh really?
Yes.
Oh, now that's going to be a laugh. Yeah, fantastic.
She's agreed to do like cameo appearance at the start of it, like a video that can be edited into the start.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So that'd be a great Christmas treat. I'll have to get in contact with her again just to remind her. But yeah, that'd be a nice touch if it happens.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, Jack, thank you for coming on. Your link will be in the description, so if you guys want to go subscribe to him, he's a very good YouTuber. I've watched quite a lot of his videos. Go subscribe to him.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks for coming on, man.
No problem. I will happily do it again if needed.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely have you on again if we review like a Series 6 episode, like the Flesh 2-parter. Or like another part in like Series 12, Series 11, whatever. We'll have you on again, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that too.
Yes. And again, you'll be on the chase, so guys, keep an eye out for that. That'll be on the Who Game Shows channel. And thank you guys for listening to this episode. We'll be back next week, episode 8. It'll be Mike Solo hosting with Andrew Kemp, and it'll also be... Damn it, I forgot the other guest. I think it's Adam Martin, Mike, and Andrew Kemp, and possibly George Puddy as well. So yeah, a lot to look forward to. We'll be recording the chase that day actually. That's why I won't be in that episode. So yeah, guys, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Catch episode 8 next week. See you guys in a bit. Bye.
Bye bye.